Hi everyone, we're here for the SAT question of the day for October 22nd, 2011. Only 37% of students answered this math question correctly, so it's a very hard math question. That's a very low percentage of students to be answering correctly for a question of the day. So a nice tricky one for today. Alright, so let's go ahead and read it. A woman drove to work at an average speed of 40 miles per hour and returned along the same route at 30 miles per hour. If her total traveling time was 1 hour, what was the total number of miles in the round trip? Okay, so she goes there at 40 miles an hour, she comes back at 30 miles an hour, right? And so what was the total number of miles? Well, first of all, let's think of the big picture here, and the common mistake that students often make. You can't assume that the average speed traveled to be the average of the two speeds. A lot of people think, well, if you go 40 miles an hour on the way there, 30 miles an hour on the way back, then you're averaging 35 miles an hour, right? Well, not quite, because you actually spend more time going slowly than you do going quickly. And since speed is a function of time, your speed is actually going to be a little bit lower. So your average speed is actually going to be a little bit lower than 35 miles an hour. Okay. So in this case, there's not too much of a difference between 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, so chances are the answer is going to be something a little bit less than 35, so that certainly seems to point towards C, 34 and 2/7. So if you just had to take a quick guess, that would be a really good rationale. If you have time to do the actual math, then here's how you do it. Okay, so D equals RT is an important part of this equation. Remember, D equals RT means distance equals rate times time. Okay. Now the problem here is going to be solving for time, right? Because all we really have is the total traveling time, right? So what you can do here is you can just sort of try to solve for t as one specific variable, you know. So we could say, for example, t is going to represent, in this case, it's going to represent the time to work. Okay, so for example, if we were to say that, then we could split D equals RT into two parts. Right. And so the first part here is going to be 40t, right, because she drives to work at 40 miles an hour, right, that's the time to work, so that's the simple one. And then the other one, so let's just notate here, this is to, and this is going to be from. So to work is 40t, from work is 30 times, well, it's not times t because t is the time to work, but if t is the time to work and the total time is 1 hour, right? So in other words, like 1 is equal to time 1 plus time 2, right? Well, if that's the case, then 1 minus time 1 equals time 2. So for that reason, we can, instead of just writing 30t, we'd have to solve for it in terms of the other t. So it'd be 30 times 1 minus t, right? And it turns out that because the distance is the same each way, right, then we can set these two equations equal to each other and then solve for t, right? So what we're going to get then is we're going to get 40t equals 30 minus 30t, right? And then we're going to get 70t equals 30. Right? And then we're going to get t is equal to 3/7. Okay. Now if you take that 3/7, right, and you plug it back into the original 40t, So let's find a roundabout route here. There we go. Okay, then you will get the answer. So 40, right, times 3/7 is going to come out to 17 1/7, right? And that gives you the distance to work, but they want the total number of miles in the round trip. So if you multiply it by 2, it comes out to 34 2/7. So just like we suspected, the answer is going to be a little bit less than 35. And because the math is so complicated, because of all this stuff you have to do, the 1 minus t, the plugging the 3/7 back in, times this, and then realizing to multiply it by 2, it's really good to have the big picture in your mind, because chances are you probably won't have the time to do all of this math, and it's better to take an educated guess. But if you do have time to do the math, here's your explanation. Okay, so that is all. The answer, as I said, is C.